Some of us homeschooling, we just know that we're meant to bring our children home and educate them at home. We are just convinced that it's the best decision for our children, for us, and just for our whole family. But it doesn't mean it's always going to be easy. Do you sometimes feel like you struggle to teach your children well? I definitely did. Why are you homeschooling? When times get tough, do you find it hard just to know what it is that gets you going, helps you continue on this journey of educating your children at home? Maybe you feel like you're not teaching your children well because you change direction all the time or frequently, starting a curriculum, tossing it out and changing it, starting activities and then not doing those and heading in different directions. That was my story also, and maybe you can relate. You're going to enjoy today's conversation. I have a fantastic guest today. We're going to be talking about 3 steps to becoming an effective teacher while educating your children at home. Educating our children at home can be an overwhelming, at times, experience. There will be difficult times. And what is it that motivates us to keep on going? Sometimes the task can feel just mammoth and overwhelming. Feeling like we're not effectively teaching our children to the best that we can. My guest knows what it takes to be a successful master teacher and will encourage you in your home education journey by sharing 3 essential steps to being an effective teacher to your children. My name is Diana Rolston, and welcome. Welcome to Spark Homeschool Parent. This is an encouraging community where we can openly and without judgment share our fears, our questions, and our doubts about homeschooling. And everybody is welcome. This conversation is for you. If you're just not sure where to begin, how do you become an effective teacher? Or maybe you've been homeschooling for many years and you just need to be reminded how to effectively deliver instruction to your children. You're going to enjoy today's conversation. If you're not sure what it is that keeps you going and why even that's important, and you're in the right place, if you feel like you don't have clear direction, and maybe that's why you feel like you're not teaching your children well, what does it take to be an effective teacher? This is Spark. Excuse me. This is Spark Homeschool Parent. I want to thank you for joining. Thank you for joining this Facebook Live. And as you come on, I'd love it if you can just let me know where you're tuning in from, how you relate to this question or these questions, this of being an effective teacher to our children. And if you are in the homeschool community, no doubt you know others who would really benefit from this Facebook Live, from others that I've done. If you are looking for some of our recordings, they can be found at Spark Educational Therapy on Facebook, and just go to the videos there and you'll see all the videos, the Facebook Lives, they're all stored there for your convenience to look back at some of them that maybe you missed. And there's some good ones in there. Again, today we're talking about 3 steps to becoming an effective teacher while educating at home. I am so excited to have this guest with me today. She has has a doctorate of education in educational leadership. She has a master's in educational administration, and she's been a teacher and a principal for many, many years. Actually, she's known as the turnaround principal for her work in low-performing schools in Texas. But more recently, she's working as an educational consultant, training teachers and principals to, what she says, create hallelujah success stories. I really admire this woman. Despite all the years of education, as you heard, and much more than I even mentioned, and all the years of experience, she still continues to learn and grow, and she's just like really creative in her teaching profession. And she's so willing to share her knowledge with us today. So I'm so very thankful. I'm going to let her in now, Dr. Barbara Polk. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good to be here. Thank you. I'm excited.
Yeah. I gave it just a brief introduction to some of the things that you've done. You really have a breadth and a depth of experience and education in the field of education. You've probably, touched the lives of thousands of children.
Yeah. So
Can
so
you,
true.
pardon? Yeah, so true. So can you just give us a better sense? Maybe give us just a little bit more of an introduction to some of the things that you've done?
Well, I started out as a substitute teacher. I had my degree in education. I was in social services, and then, came on over to education as a substitute. And then I started teaching high school, and the assignment that I was given was to teach those high school students who had not mastered the state assessment, which was a challenge. And it was also an opportunity for me to learn. I was, like the parents who are working with their children at home. I'm walking into this environment. I'm excited about it, and I know that I want to do a good job. And I had excellent support, and we were successful. But it was it was not easy. And from there, I went on to become a curriculum coordinator. I wrote curriculum, and then I became an assistant principal. And from there, I was um, assistant principal for a high school, middle school, and then I was elementary principal of a school that was what they called that was put on the watch list. And the watch list simply meant that if things didn't change at that school, that it would be rated as low performing. Well, we had Hallelujah success story there, where we turned the school around, and it just exceeded all expectations. And from there, my superintendent decided to send me to another school, one of the best performing schools in the state of Texas. And I just couldn't figure out why. Haven't I done enough? I understood that was my calling, and we were able to get that school turned around. We had about 1,000 students, and nobody wanted to come to the school. School was, had a terrible reputation. But by the end of 8 years, we never went back to low performing, and we had people applying to come to our school in December and January because they heard that there's one vacancy over there, so we were going to get there. So it was a labor of love, and I have learned so much that I'm willing to share with others, especially our parents who want to homeschool their children, which I know is also a labor of love for them. And it's a great big challenge because you are working with your loved one, and you want only the best for your children. But it's a massive task, and I congratulate those parents for wanting to do this for their children. Of course, in their hearts, they know that this is the best thing for them.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a challenge as well, because you're coming across some things that you never you never thought about before. You just kind of jumped into doing this teaching thing.
Mm-hmm. Many of us did do that. Actually, when I started homeschooling my three boys when they were young, I had no teaching experience at that time. I don't even think I had stepped into a classroom since I was in school.
Yeah, yeah,
So I think my experience may be similar to many in that I taught my children, or started at the beginning to teach my children the way that I was taught.
yeah,
And I had curriculum passed on to me. So I didn't even choose a curriculum, but I basically had my children sit, read, and do worksheets. And that's how we started.
yeah,
Not as I learned more and spent more time with my children, realized that was not an effective way of teaching them, and actually created quite a miserable environment for my three boys and for me.
yeah,
So I really wish that I would have met you many years ago. That was many years ago.
yeah.
What would you say to me if you had met me back then, as many homeschool parents are now? What would the first step be to becoming an effective teacher, whether in the classroom teacher or home-based teacher?
I think the most critical thing is your mindset as a parent teaching. You have so many different things coming at you, so many choices to make, so much technology to choose from, so many programs to choose. You're just bombarded,
Mm-hmm.
and once you make those decisions about curriculum, about the kind of technology that you're going to use, there's some guiding principles for you to follow that's going to cut down on some of the frustration that's involved with teaching your children.
We
And
would
the first,
Sorry, we
yeah,
all want to hear about how to cut down frustration.
yeah. Um, the first thing parents and teachers in general, because you are the teacher, learning takes time. Research says that it takes 1 to 5 years to train a teacher who feels successful.
Mm.
So don't beat yourself up because, or throw your hands up and say, I thought I could do this, but this is just too much. It takes time. Learning takes time. And when you teach your children whatever curriculum you choose, have patience. I know that's easy to say. Have patience, and remember that your children are changing chronologically. They're changing. Their brains are changing. They're in if they have been in a public or private school environment, everything's going to be different because they're at home and they're accustomed to being at home. And home is the place where you can leave school behind.
Mm.
Now it's as if the boogeyman has followed you home, and your mom is there, and you are accustomed to her, going with you, playing games, having fun, fussing at you here and there, making sure your tasks were taken care of at home, and then you can just go on until
Oh
Monday
yeah.
when it was when it's time to go back to school. You never leave. It's always there.
Yeah.
Um, that's the first thing is that learning takes time, and if parents understand that, that will cut down on that frustration. Remember too that we don't all learn the first time. Some of us don't learn the second time, and some of us don't
Mm.
learn the third time. And we have to understand that our children, are just like that. They don't learn the first time. And as you said, you teach the way you were taught.
Mm-hmm.
And things have changed. Children have changed. Their exposure has changed. So that means that you're going to have to change as well. And you're going to constantly have to be a learner, learning
Mm.
how to teach your children. just constantly learning. You have to be a learner, a forever learner, while you are teaching your children. And of course, I think you have mentioned in the past that you have to determine what is your goal. Is your goal to homeschool your child from kindergarten or pre-K to kindergarten, or from pre-K to grade 5? What is your goal? And
Mm-hmm.
everybody has to understand the goal. I mean, especially the child, and they have to understand the goal. So, are you going to homeschool them until they reach middle school? I've experienced, on the other side, receiving children who are in difficult situations, and the parents had to homeschool the kids. And, there are all kinds of situations that happen with families, whether the kid is homeschooled, or whether they're in public or private school. This life happens.
Mm-hmm.
And the story goes that, this father ended up being the primary caretaker of the child, and he could no longer do the homeschooling. And when he did enroll his child into public school, he had no documentation to support that his child had been in a program. And
Mm-hmm.
once they transfer from homeschooling to public school, then it becomes, a paper trail, you know, documentation trail. And here we have a kid who is in 8th grade, and is, 13 or 14 years old, and daddy doesn't have documentation. We're certainly not going to put him in the 6th grade, you know. So in situations like that, we had to just place him in the 8th grade and just give him all the extra support, that he needed. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and that happens. That happens in life. And if something like that happens to you or another family member, you just have to pray that you get a principal who's going to be willing to work with you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
when you're homeschooling.
That's an important um, thing to remember, is to create goals and not just to think about them. And like in life, our goals can change. Um, Originally, when I was homeschooling, our goal was to homeschool for a year. Well, actually, originally it was till Christmas. And then we continued for the year. And yeah, our goals were different because I was aligning the instruction to the school system, because I anticipated that my children were going to re-enter school the next September. But then in that September, we decided to homeschool for another year. But I also stuck with the standards, the provincial standards. But then when we realized, no, we're in this for the long haul, our goals changed, as they do. And actually, I was going to share that I do workshops on creating goals. And when we talked about this boy another time that you were sharing, he actually had some social issues
Mm-hmm.
reintegrating into the school. So the
Yeah,
importance of homeschooling is not just academics, but
exactly. And that's the second principle too, is that learning is social. It's it's more than just sitting down, like you say, with a pen and paper, or sitting in front of a computer and doing a lesson. It is social.
mhm,
So you, as the parent, you can do paradigm shifts to create the kind of social environment that fits your child or your children. Because we know that there are many reasons why families homeschool, and you find that social environment that's going to fit your child or your children and have that to be an extension of what they're learning or what you're teaching them.
Mm-hmm.
And that way they will have fun. Your frustration level will go down because you have in your lesson plans you have decided that we're gonna have Fantastic Friday, and
Mm.
Fantastic Friday simply means that we're gonna check to make sure all of your assignments are done, and we're going to have fun today. But we have that fun within a framework
Mm-hmm.
so that the child has something to look forward to. Because even as adults, we get enough education. Give us a break. Let's get out of here. Let's get some sunshine, or let's go roll in the snow, or let's run in the rain. Let's go pick flowers and roll in the grass, whatever it is. Let's do artwork. Let's throw paint all over somebody's wall, not mine.
Outside again.
Yeah,
Yeah, and just that is a great thing to remember. That's learning needs to be fun.
yeah,
That's when we set our goals. We set academic goals, we set social goals, physical goals, and spiritual goals because we're creating and educating the full person.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, and learning is personal. Um, we see our children, our personal children, as mini me's. He's like his dad. He's like
Mm.
me. He's like his grandpa. He's like his uncle. Or I don't know who this kid is like. I'm trying to figure it out myself. And we can apply that um, in our regular classroom. We get to form relationships with our children, and that's why I say the principle that is effective is that learning is personal, um, and within that learning, there will be several opportunities to bring in your your family history and how that
Mm.
impacts what you're teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Your faith, how that impacts what you're teaching. Storytelling, where you can um, take what you are teaching and apply it to a story that you have experienced in life, which will make you and your child or your children see you in a different way.
Mm.
They will understand that you're just not mom or dad that's fussing all the time and wanting you to do the work or come sit back down here. I'm not going to tell you again. You're going to sit down. But take the teaching as an opportunity to make learning personal.
Mm-hmm. You actually just you have been introduced to thousands of students, and it struck me that you said from your experience, every child is unique. That's just a amazing thought, and it's something that I say all the time. I just have three children, but to think every child, every child is unique. And then so every child learns differently, has different strengths, different weaknesses, and that's a great place to start their learning also.
Exactly. Um, so as a school principal, understanding what our goals are and determining how we can get the students to understand the goal. You're looking at one student at a time.
Mm.
Uh, I remember the time when the middle school, where I was just constantly growing the school, we were looking at test scores, and we had eighth graders, and these eighth graders needed to pass that test to be recommended to go on to ninth grade. And they had one more opportunity to take the test.
Mm.
So, what we decided to do was to pull all of those kids in because they get those reports frustrated because they don't see anything. It's like us, as adults. If we have been trying for something, we have been applying for a job, and we get that letter that says thank you for applying, and after that we don't read anymore. It's over.
Yeah.
I applied for the job, I didn't get it. Why should I read the rest of this? But when kids get their test scores, they're basically the same way. I didn't pass. I'm frustrated. So what's the use? I'm shutting down. But what we decided to do was get all of those eighth grade teachers. We put them in the cafeteria and we brought the kids in. And each kid was assigned to go to see a teacher, to sit in front of that teacher and to have that teacher explain the data and tell them something like, you see here on standard 8.2, you were supposed to make a 42. You made 39. All you have to do is get 3 more questions correct. And those questions are integers, ratios, and angles. Okay? That's what we're going to help you. That's what we're going to help you to understand. And their eyes get big and they say, is that all? Do you mean that's all I need to do? Yeah, that's it. And I worked with the students as well. I had some of them to even come to my office and I sent for them. And when they sat in front of me and I said, you did not meet the standard, but you're so close. All you have to do is get these next 2 right. And it'll be done. And it's like they're amazed. Yeah, and we're gonna help you. We're gonna help you do it. And that kind of personalization is the same thing that we can do as teachers in our homeschool, because our kids are not going to get it right the first time. I mean, it even may be like a story I heard of a teacher teaching some elementary kids, and the teacher taught this math assignment. She taught it all wrong. And and the kids knew it was wrong. And she said, if you knew it was wrong, why didn't you stop me? They said, oh, we just couldn't stop you because you were just so excited about what you were teaching. And so we didn't want to hurt your feelings. So, as teachers, we've made the same mistakes. We got all the education and all the degrees, and sometimes they just let us roll, and then tell us, you do know that was wrong. And I'm sure we have some parents here who are on tonight who are saying, yeah, I feel you.
Yeah.
Same experience, but that's fine.
Mm-hmm. And I love, we can be our children's cheerleaders.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And they can be our cheerleaders, because we're forming extraordinary relationships.
Yeah.
When you're homeschooling.
Yeah.
And your children will tell you that, Mom, that's okay. That's okay. Don't beat yourself up. Don't beat yourself up. We learned that in lesson 2.3.
Which reminds me, we have to be humble.
Yes.
And remember, we don't know it all.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Sorry.
The next principle is that learning is transferable. you are just not teaching your children just for education's sake.
Mm.
You are teaching them to transfer that learning to other environments.
Mm-hmm.
So when, like, I know your story when you took your son, he had a motorcycle or a bike. Um, that was the opportunity where he was transferring the learning that you had taught him, and um, he applied that. It was transferred,
Yeah.
and that that um, that had him to um, really have respect for you, as a mom. Um, I remember I taught summer school, and my son was in my class. So we would ride to school in the morning and ride to school, after summer school was over. And I was teaching him, and he was doing the work, and I would get the work back and I would grade it. And on one particular instance, on our way home after school, I said, David, I said, you're really smart. I didn't realize how smart you
Mm.
were. And David told me, he said, Mama, I didn't realize how good a teacher you were. He
Ah.
said, he said, you're a great teacher. Oh my God. That
Oh.
made my day. That made my day.
And imagine how you made his.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And that's when you were mentioning about my son and the bicycle, just and your son, the importance of really learning their strengths
Yeah.
and really understanding that they are unique and trying to using this time. It's so exciting to figure them out and what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses.
Yeah.
It's just a great place to start.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Ah.
So, just being a parent, in education. Another incident happened that same summer where the class sizes got real large, and they had to hire another teacher. So I told the kids in my class, I said, I'm going to just pass you a piece of paper, and if you want to transfer, just say I want to transfer. And if you don't, just say, I want to stay. I said, you're not gonna hurt my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
So on another day, a ride home, I thought that my son would want to transfer to another class. And when I got the list of all the kids who wanted to stay, um, I saw his name was on the list. I said, Dave, I thought you want to go to the other class because they're gonna have fun over there. He said, Mama, I'm not a fool. I know I know where I'm going to get the learning that I need, and it's going to be with you. I said, well, oh my goodness. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Mm-hmm.
relationship was there. The personal
Yeah.
part instruction was there.
That's such an encouraging story. Thank you for sharing that. And that's a great place, unfortunately, that we're going to end. I love your stories, and you have lots of them to share. So thank you so
Yeah,
much.
yeah. And the last thing too, the last thing
Yeah.
is that um, effort produces achievement. As parents, just put the greatest effort that you have as a teacher,
Mm.
and you will see the achievement that you expect from your child or your children, and they don't all achieve at the same level. But once you put the effort in, you have all the principles of understanding that learning takes time, and that you have socialization, and you understand that the teaching that you're doing is it's transferable, and then at the end of the line or at a stopping point, um, all of it is guided towards your child achieving, and all of your effort is going to produce that achievement.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. And yeah, homeschooling, educating our children at home, it is serious business and it is a full-time commitment.
It is. Yeah.
And it's an important thing to remember. Yeah. Thank you so much, Barbara.
I've enjoyed it.
Yeah. And just to close out, I want to thank everybody for joining me at Spark Homeschool Parent. I'm committed to providing an encouraging and a non-judgmental community where we can talk about our fears, our questions, our doubts about homeschooling. And I want to thank you for joining me. These Facebook Lives are just part of our conversation. If you would like to be part of our Facebook group, it's Spark Homeschool Parent, and I'll be here again next week and every Friday at 1 p.m. And remember that as homeschoolers, we can help our children find that spark that ignites their learning. Thanks again, Barbara.
You're certainly welcome. Enjoyed it.